the 5 lenses, I'll just lay them out for you in total, then we can drill down on each of them. The first lens is microeconomics, really price action. Historically, prices are determined by supply and demand curves intersecting. Higher prices, more supply. Lower prices, more demand. If higher prices result in more demand, resulting in higher prices, resulting in more demand, my argument is we have a bubble dynamic underway. That's lens 1. Lens 2 is macroeconomics. Do we see signs of misallocated capital or excessive leverage? I don't think we really need much explanation because we've experienced that firsthand. Lens 3, psychology. Are there signs of overconfidence, hubris, new era philosophies, thinking it's different this time? Really signs of conspicuous consumption, really overconfidence and hubris, I think, captures it. Lens 4 is political distortions. Do we have the government creating moral hazard? Are we playing a game of heads I win, tails you lose? Is it an uneven playing field? Are political motivations affecting supply, demand, or incentives via taxes, subsidies, ceilings, floors on prices, etc. And the last lens is really a biological lens. Here's sort of herd behavior. And what I'm looking for through the 5th lens is signs that a bubble is, quote unquote, long in the tooth. Are we in the later innings of the phenomenon? And here, amateur investor participation really is something that captures the fact that everyone's playing this game. There's not many new players to come.
So you talked about sort of 5 very analytical lenses, but I've also heard you speak about some really fun indicators like skyscrapers. Why skyscrapers?
Yeah, so skyscrapers, the world's tallest skyscrapers, so I should correct it, it's not just skyscrapers generally, but the world's tallest skyscrapers are a spectacular bubble indicator. And it has worked historically through history to identify major market tops. So let's just think about what's happened. In 1929, we had 3 towers competing for the world's tallest tower status in New York City. 40 Wall Street went up. The Chrysler Building eclipsed it very slightly by erecting a taller spire. Both of which were outdone by the Empire State Building, leading to the Great Depression. In 1973 and 74, we had the Sears Tower in Chicago and the New York World Trade Centers. A decade of stagflation followed. In 1997, the world's tallest tower status moved to Malaysia, quite literally in the neighborhood, if not at ground zero, of the Asian financial crisis. What year was that title what year did that title move to Malaysia? 1997, right before the Asian financial crisis struck. 1999. Taipei 101 became the world's tallest tower. At that point, it was still under construction, but nonetheless, the intent and philosophy and all of the dynamics were underway to indicate the bubbly dynamic. Here, it was at the heartland of the tech hardware boom, which was, Taipei and sort of all the electronic componentry. 2007, that title went to Dubai, in the Burj Dubai, where July of 2007, that tower was deemed the world's tallest freestanding structure, uncompleted, within weeks of global equity markets peaking, which is fascinating. Interestingly enough, 5 of the 10 largest skyscrapers under construction in the world as of the time of my book writing, which was a year and a half ago, were in China. So to answer your question, the other question, which is why? Why does this indicator work? This indicator works for a couple of reasons. One, it captures 3 really important dynamics which point to a bubble underway. One, speculative juices running wild, right? These are always built with a build it and hopefully the tenants will come. Rarely are they skyscrapers, definitely not the world's tallest skyscrapers. Rarely are they built with an intended tenant in place. Meaning you're not hearing about ExxonMobil or Shell, new world's tallest skyscraper, all of our staff are going in, new world headquarters. They're usually built with borrowed money. So there's an easy money condition underway. It's not financed with 100% equity financing. And lastly, by being the world's tallest, we've had buildings around for a long time, right? To become the world's tallest at this point is not rational. It's a sign, a manifestation of hubris, of overconfidence, of ego, of chest-thumping behavior on the part of very wealthy, usually newfound wealth, and societies that have been booming. So.
I've heard you talk about Sotheby's as an indicator. Well, how can Sotheby's be an indicator?
Yeah, so it's actually Sotheby's common stock price specifically, as opposed to Sotheby's generally. And the reason is, Here's a great example where anyone with an internet browser and an access to stock charts can pull up this chart. And if you pull up Sotheby's common stock price chart and pull it back to 1988 when that stock went public, what you see is a seismograph in my eyes, or an EKG. It's a flat line, it's got a couple blips on it. Well, what are those blips? What are the dates of those blips? The first blip is October 89. That's kind of interesting. There was a bubble in Japan then. The next blip was April 99. Okay, maybe a little early, but coincides in the general neighborhood of the internet and TMT bubble. 2007, May of 2007, I think the stock hit a new high. In this case, it was easy money bubble, an easy money bubble that transpired. And then lastly, in 2011, the stock hit a new high. In that case, it was Chinese buyers of art setting world record prices. In theory, telegraphing what was the Chinese investment boom slowing, if not ending. And so in each of these cases, when you go back and look at the news of art markets at that time, what you find is there were world record art prices being paid by, in 89, Japanese buyers. In 99, TMT buyers, sort of buyers from technology, media, and telecom backgrounds. In 2007, people who benefited from easy money, Russian oligarchs, private equity billionaires, hedge fund billionaires. And then in 2011, it was Chinese newfound billionaires.
Well, that's probably a good segue. Let's talk a bit more about China. So applying your lenses, is there a bubble perhaps in China?
Yeah, so the 5 lenses when applied to China don't look promising for the identification of China as not in a bubble. Right, so it's a probabilistic exercise. We can't say for sure, but lens 1, at least in the real estate markets, what we've seen is higher prices resulting in more demand, resulting in higher prices, resulting in more demand. So let's just say check. Lens 2, if we see misallocated capital, and my argument is absolutely. We've heard of ghost cities, there are empty malls, there are all sorts of signs of excess capacity. I'm not suggesting China won't eventually use it. I'm just saying they've already built it. What will the demand be in the future as they need to have more supply? They've got so much excess supply that they'll just take some time to use it up. Lens 3, conspicuous consumption, overconfidence, hubris. Art markets tell it all. I've already told you what happened with Sotheby's. There are wonderful examples of Chinese world record art price, or Chinese buyers paying world record prices in the art markets. By the way, interestingly enough, 2012 Chinese art auction values in aggregate down 50% from 2011 Chinese auction art values, or Chinese art auction values. It's happening. By the way, the higher number was associated with Sotheby's stock price being higher. Lens 4, political manipulation. Centrally planned governments. Self-explanatory that, in fact, they are motivated by things other than economic analysis. And then lastly, herd behavior. I think looking at what the state-owned enterprises are doing in real estate tells you a large part of the story. Private developers have been squeezed out of land auctions in major cities and have been replaced by state-owned enterprises. Incidentally, those state-owned enterprises are funded by state-owned banks. State-owned banks that are funded by the state. And these state-owned enterprises are buying land from the state. Not a dynamic that gives me comfort. State lending to state, lending to state to buy from state.
So let's take the opposite tack then. Can you give us an example of where your 5 lenses don't point to a bubble?
Sure. My current area of sort of investigation that I'm really fascinated by, Lauren, is I'm looking at food.
Interesting.
Not farmland, not agricultural futures, not agricultural companies. I'm talking about just food as a price.
As in food security?
Food prices.
Food prices.
So a great indicator is you can look at the UN Food Price Index. This is a blend of corn, and soybeans, et cetera. So generally food. And if we run through the higher prices, more demand, in some cases, yes, but it's really higher prices, more demand, lower prices, more demand. It's really just more demand coming on the food side. So, okay, maybe that indicator doesn't point to bubble dynamics, but it shows that potentially there's lots of demand. Lens 2, are there signs of misallocated capital and leverage? Again, there might be in farmland, there may be in futures, but in the actual food, no. There's no, I mean, people buy food to eat it. And if they're borrowing money to eat food, that's a different problem, and we've got unsustainable dynamics, but we're not there. Lens 3, conspicuous consumption. Is it different this time? Again, maybe in the case of farmland or agriculture as an investment, but the actual food is not different. Food is food. We need it to eat. There is consistent demand, regardless of price. Political manipulation, absolutely. Lots of political manipulation. The United States Department of Agriculture sets floors and subsidies and has crop insurance and different forms of price manipulation attempts. So yes, there's lots of political manipulation, not only here, elsewhere in the world. So yeah, but that, one lens does not point to a bubble saying this. And then lastly is their herd behavior. And here actually there may be a little bit of hoarding that's taking place, but stocks, I'm sure the Egyptian governments today wish they had larger stocks of wheat on hand 2008, 2009 when prices spiked, because they may still be in power today. Mubarak may in fact still be in power. So in any case, I think food prices, when I look through my lenses, I don't see a bubble dynamic, but what I do see is a really concerning dynamic that has massive global ramifications.